Origin just almost reaction. This is Morrowind review, a moon sugar fortified experience for the channel SsethTzeentach. I don't know what the fuck that. I don't know how you SsethTzeentach. I don't know how you pronounce that. Yeah. The ultimate isolationist, ultra-nationalist, xenophobic culture and crack pipe smoking adventure of the early 2000s. Holy shit, this game was in 2002, right? I remember when I was a kid playing that, but don't remember much of it, right? First Elder Scrolls experience, but not really, since I was too stupid to know what the fuck am I doing. I think first proper Elder Scrolls experience for me was Oblivion. So, you know, I'll be surprised if I remember anything from this. But yeah, I do know that Morrowind is basically where a real Elder Scrolls started. Because the lore of the Elder Scrolls that we know of today started from the Morrowind. They made the first two games, they were fine. And when they came to the third game, I guess there was one guy in the development team which is not with them anymore. I guess, did the most of the lore. Obviously, everybody else pitched in. So, you know, Todd Howard was also part of it. So they basically created this massive, massive lore that we know of today. Probably one of the biggest and deepest lore of any game there is. That's how big the lore of Elder Scrolls is. But they all started in this Morrowind. Obviously, the foundations were laid in the first two games with the maps and what other countries and different things here and there. But most of the lore came from this game. From this game forward, that's the lore we know of today. That's how Elder Scrolls Online is working. Because the setting that is inside the Elder Scrolls Online, they thought of that during this game, but never intended to play that. Because most of the games that all the 5 games, the time period that, it plays is a very small portion of the entire timeline of the Elder Scrolls. So let's watch this one. People have been telling me that this is a really good channel, and since I've been, reacting to Russian Badger, internet historian about games, why not more games review? Let's watch it.
Hey people, Seth here. Today, I'll be reviewing the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. It's been years since the Outlanders came in and conquered our lands. Every day since, I've been persecuted for my superior beliefs and culture. If it weren't for the Imperial scum, I'd be happily eating salt rice and kwama eggs for breakfast every day and dying of blight by the ripe old age of 30. Only you can comfort me in these troubling times. From an uneducated glance, Morrowind might look like your typical open-world sandbox RPG of the early 2000s. However, first appearances are deceiving. Morrowind is actually an RPG about reincarnating yourself to overthrow an order of free gods worshipped collectively as the tribunal because they betrayed you in your past life in order to abandon their mortality, with one of them, Vivek, impaling you through the chest with his gigantic penis sword. Meanwhile, another man betrayed by the tribunal has lived on past death, driven mad with divinity, and also has a piece of pottery permanently stuck to his head. Inside a steamy volcano mountain, he plots to overrun the continent by influencing the dreams of bitter, dark elf nationalists unhappy with the state of political affairs, turning their dreams into reality as their face cavity collapses, grows a mouth proboscis, and eventually blooms into a full set of eyes and tentacles, ascending as a hunchbacked cephalopod hellbent on genociding all other races off the face of Morrowind and restoring their native homeland to its former glory. You, however, know nothing about this, or the Nerevarine prophecy you will one day fulfill. You're just a prisoner on a boat left to rot. Instead, you've been granted pardon for your crimes by order of the Imperial Emperor. In exchange, you'll be working with the Imperial Intelligence under Caius Casadus, and
I like that one thing that carries over with all the games. Morrowind, you're a prisoner. Oblivion, you're a prisoner. Skyrim, you were just wandering inside the country and fuck it, we found you, so you're a prisoner. And by the way, you're gonna get killed before the dragon arrives. I like how the prisoner element, which just basically shows you that you're the lowest of the low. You are a prisoner, you're nobody. You're nobody to even respect. I like that because from there you can literally become near God in the game. And the games are so fucking big, hours and hours, hundreds and hours of gameplay, and such a big open world and so much things to do. That's why, lots of games are really good and better, like Witcher 3 and things. But nothing is more open and better than Elder Scrolls in that sense. Nothing can touch Elder Scrolls in that sense because it's literally really open. And in Skyrim, they just went all the way like, fuck it, Hearthfire. Here you can marry, adopt children, and also create houses. Because why not? You do everything else. You can even cut, chop wood, because why the fuck not? This is why I love these games. And as Morrowind was such a significant game for me because in there, I don't think you can, as far as I remember, you can't fast travel. So the exploration mentality that I have from the start started from the Morrowind, because in the Morrowind I had to walk everywhere, and that was so fucking good experience. I loved it.
Imperial agent who, over the course of a story, is dishonorably dismissed from his post because he can't contain his crippling crack cocaine addiction. This might sound like a lot to swallow, but when you consider that a person swallows on average 5 clockwork spiders each year in their sleep, this doesn't seem so
Why
bad.
You had to say that,
Aside from the main story, the lore and background,
I question that statistic, and I will question that until I die.
Of the Elder Scrolls universe is thoroughly explained, documented, and communicated to you throughout the course of your play. Most of the lore for Morrowind was written in a single week, while the main author went on a sleepless amphetamine binge, surprising absolutely nobody. And that's where it shines best. Morrowind is the most authentic alien setting ever put in games, and second only maybe to Planescape Torment. When everything is so bizarre, nothing is bizarre. Everything put in front of you is so genuine and sincere, you never question it. So maybe the best showcase of a game and the best way to communicate why it's so amazing is just telling about all the crazy shit I encountered. Like, let's start with the main diet of Dark Elves. Eggs. Really fucking big eggs, which are laid by gigantic Quama queens under the earth. Sometimes people steal eggs from the mine. They're killed on the spot without trial, since food is precious in this region. If a Quama queen dies, the hive fails.
Kinda makes sense. There was similar laws in real world when people basically stole, I guess, cattle. They will, literally put to death because, that was such a necessity that crime was seen as the highest crime of them in lots of places. It feels stupid to think about, but yeah, entire families could go, starve because of that shit. There's similar element in this.
And the local villages, depending on them, undergo a famine. There's technologically advanced dwarven ruins everywhere, complete with clockwork spiders, mechas, and Jewish ghosts, which keep reminding you about the 6 million, but no trace of the dwarves themselves. Why? Because they built God. And since building God is a pretty big endeavor, it's anybody's guess where they went, either to a completely different realm or instantly vanished from existence.
They lost their mind. They were so advanced and powerful that tried to become God and vanished. And since that dwarf mystery is really fucking good. Because I love that. In Oblivion, I love that. Morrowind, I don't remember much from that. In Skyrim, I love that. So that's whole dwarven thing is so good. I know people say to me, why not play Morrowind now? But this is a game from 2002. Do you see that graphics? I'm one of those people to whom graphics is really important. It's not the only thing that's important, but it's really something that is fucking important. If some game has a really realistic enough graphics with good enough mechanics and good enough storyline, to me that game is really good. Because why play a game if you're not trying to feel it as realistic as you can? You're not, if it's not immersive as it can, why even play a game, right? So if I'm playing an open world RPG game that has extremely realistic graphics, sunset, lighting and everything, and I'm clocking in multiple hours every day, that's just perfect, because that's like I'm getting immersed in the game. That is realistic as possible. It's like a simulation for the time. But now, this game is so good, but I can't play it with this kind of graphics. I can't go past first mission. It's just way too hard for me. So I hope Microsoft, since they bought Bethesda, they remake this game at least.
There's a temple in the game with an imprisoned Daedra, bound to a religious relic. He's completely chill, calm, domesticated, unless you provoke him, of course. If you keep taunting him, he finally snaps and says, "After I kill you, I will rape your corpse. Don't worry, I'll be gentle." There's one wizard in the game who cloned female copies of himself to have his own daughters, which also act as his wives and concubines. And if you don't think that's the hottest shit ever, get the fuck out. Morrowind is my fetish buffet. Case in point, there's a quest where you're tasked with escorting an Argonian slave back from the docks to her master in another city. Immediately upon delivery, the owner and his guards murder and rip open her stomach on the spot, because it turns out you've just been an accomplice for a local drug cartel, helping them bring a body body packer whose stomach was filled to the brim with sweet cocaine. There's always politics and intrigue between the great houses of Morrowind, Hlalu, Radorn, and Telvanni. While legally, the empire occupying Morrowind doesn't permit slavery, they can't really stop the Telvanni, since they're incredibly powerful and omnipotent ANCAP wizards, and they don't like guests. That's why there's no stairs in Telvanni wizard towers. If you can't levitate like a normal person, you're fucked out of luck. Do you know how you get promoted in Telvanni society? You kill your rivals and assume their position. The court of law there automatically presupposes that if an argument was had and you successfully murder the opposing party, then your argument must have had more weight than your enemy. In fact, you can hover up to a Telvanni tower at any point, murder the resident mage and his servants, and you won't be punished for it. It was their fault for having low security anyway. Besides, one of the servants sprayed blood all over my chest, clearly violating my NAP. With enough time, sweat, and cum.
There was a case in USA, I guess, where somebody literally took a, 2-3 cops literally beat the shit out of one guy and charged him because he spilled his blood over the boot of the police officer. This police officer beat the shit out of this guy. That guy bled on the police officer's boots, and that was the fucking crime. They charged him for that. I mean, yeah, I don't know. They just remind me of that. But yeah, isn't, levitation a crime in Elder Scrolls, right? I think I remember that.
Invested into a faction, you can climb through the ranks up to the point where you can build and own your own fortress. Of course, the Telvanni just grow their fucking forts out of the ground. But first, you will need the approval of bureaucrats determined to kill you off or make your life living hell before they grant their sponsorship. Except one, Crassius Curio, Counselor of House Hlalu, gives his endorsement for nothing more than a kiss on the cheek. Because he's a fag. He's even offered some of the books you can read in-game, most of them banned from the public eye for being the equivalent of erotic fan fiction. One of the most famous and sauciest of these is The Real Life of Queen Baranzaya, where Crassius raunchily asserts that the first queen of Morrowind took fat Khajiit dick, and, bemusingly, complained how painful barbed cat penises were to insert. There's even an in-game explanation for why your character, the
People who never played Elder Scrolls will think that he's exaggerating here. He's not. Shit like this really did happen. But the point is, this is why lots of people thought that Skyrim and things are a bit soft, because it wasn't ridiculous as this. But the point is, after Fallout 4, Bethesda has gone mainstream. So don't expect shit like this from the next Elder Scrolls, right? They are not going to do that. They will not be bold. That doesn't mean the Elder Scrolls is going to be bad, but it's just not going to be this, which is kind of sad. I don't know.
Reverie can save and load the game, since we the player can influence the metaphysical force known as Chim in the Elder Scrolls universe, whereby we can live through different timelines and outcomes in parallel. It's for this reason that Vivek, who has reached understanding of Chim, never agrees to fight the player, since no matter how strong or powerful he is, he knows that you can assault him an infinite amount of times, and eventually succeed. But when you're done perusing the story, how is the actual game? Absolutely fucking broken. It's stable 90% of 50% of the time. It's functional, but the combat system is insane. Forget any notion of fair play or balance. If you can exploit something, you should, because the alternative is getting tapped by a bandit carrying an enchanted twig that paralyzes you for 10 seconds straight per strike. My first experience of combat was quite traumatic. I attacked a tiny
That doesn't mean it's broken. It's one of the powers of the game. I mean, you should know that shit before you go into combat. Like, people could paralyze you.
creature, thinking it's impossible to lose against something so shitty. Instead, it paralyzed me in place and proceeded to slowly nibble me to death while renewing the paralysis whenever it got close to wearing off. Bravo, Todd. The game mechanics are bullshit. Either you adapt to it and bask in its ridiculous glory and enjoy yourself, or you refuse to learn, die horribly, and write angry complaints about it on a Korean basket weaving forum. For example, potions and their effects in this game stack. So let's say I used alchemy to make 200 potions of intelligence. I could simultaneously chug all 200 potions of intelligence and gain infinite knowledge for a few seconds, during which time I'd quickly tab back into my inventory and use alchemy, which scales off intelligence, to craft several thousand restore fatigue potions using bread and rice in a single nanosecond, which would be so amazingly powerful and potent that their individual market price would be enough to completely buy out the entire store catalog of most merchants. And if in the off chance I chose to use them instead, I would have a permanently full bar of stamina for the next few years of my physical life. In a similar manner, I could do this with other effects, such as Fortify Strength, whereby I can smash the final antagonist of a game with a weapon so hard that he and the weapon would cease to exist. But if you just happen to find
Poke. Goodbye.
your friends...
Yeah, that is the case with the Elder Scrolls game. I'm not gonna lie. It feels fun at first, but then it feels like, holy shit, this is really broken. The same shit happens in Skyrim too with the alchemy. They should really look into alchemy. That's just what I'm going to say. I don't know, they deliberately left it in thinking that, fuck it, it's alchemy. If you become really smart, you use the smart to make more potions to become even more smart. Yeah, but there should be a limit, like how much your body can take or something like that. I think they're going to do that in the next Elder Scrolls because of the new technologies, right? The last one was in 2011, so that's a 2010's technology. And knowing Bethesda, it was probably 2005's technology. But now they are really going mainstream. Microsoft is the owner now. And, you know, the way they doing the technology scanning and shit, I think they're going to make a better mechanics this time with the Elder Scrolls. Whenever it will come out in 2027 or something. Most people who played Skyrim probably won't even play that game because they'll be so fucking old.
Morrowind game open and want to run a funny prank on him for sleeping with a family dog, you can make a potion of paralysis using the same method. From the moment you drink that potion, your character will be paralyzed for about 3 hours. When he comes back and asks why his character can't move, laugh and ask him why the dog keeps crying at night. You can use this time to explain him why bestiality is immoral and illegal in most countries, and how the doctor said your dog's orifice will never fully heal. The game's design offers you a lot of freedom to mess around with. The custom spell making in particular can be abused to make some disgusting spells, such as the ability to camouflage yourself perfectly, 100% for 1 millisecond, and steal something right in front of a merchant. But just because they couldn't see you physically taking the object, they can't establish causality between the events happening around them. It's a great game. The environment and atmosphere really capture a very alien landscape and culture, while the dialogue and text keep you occupied for hours on end. Gameplay aside, Morrowind could be described as an early 2000s slave trade RPG. And when you get tired of running around, doing errands and reading shit, you can always download mods or make your own with a construction set and reduce the quality of your experience. A warm thank you to the many members of Akhlalu Merchants Guild.
Everything he said is so fucking true, but I don't know, that brought the charm to the game. You know, I'm surprised I kind of remember the games to begin with that long ago. I remember good enough part of the Oblivion, most of it at least. Skyrim, I definitely know that. I played multiple times in the last decade. But yeah, Morrowind, I don't know much about it, but it had a charm, or maybe it's the first time I ever played a game like this, so that's why it left a mark. I don't know, but it was a special game. But yeah. They really needs to remake this game with a new engine. I don't care if give it off to some other developers from the Microsoft. I don't care. Just remake it so people like me can play at least. Because I'm pretty sure if you're trying to attack somebody, you can't move, right? If you play attack, the guy is froze there. He can't move. There is no movement and attack. I don't know. Alright, well, if you like my Rick, don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the Rick Sunday. There's a link in the description. Check out the cards for listening to the cards, and yeah, I'll see you next time.